Yo, it's your homeboy Kiyosaki in the building. Welcome to episode 124 of One Piece Gist. In this episode, I'll be reviewing One Piece chapter 781. Yo, episode 124, I gotta get some shout outs. Shout outs to Zoro Fanboy124. Shout outs to Kishi Fanboy124, aka 5 Straight. Shout outs to King Recon for that girl like nickname. And speaking of King Recon, shout outs to Parasite the Maxim, animated by Madhouse. They did a good job. I still think the manga is better, and I would recommend anybody read the manga instead. But they did a good job nonetheless, and they deserve to be praised. I saw the last episode, and it was really good, really good. Anyways, moving forward to the chapter, as usual with my chapter reviews, I'm gonna have a spoiler-free review first. Afterwards, we're gonna have a more in-depth discussion of the chapter, which will contain spoilers. So let's start the review. This was a good chapter, absolutely incredible. It left me, stupefied, and my mouth is on the floor, several times while reading this chapter. So, really good chapter, and that's pretty much all I can say without spoiling things. So right now I'm going to get into the discussion section, and my review of the chapter is over. So first off, the cover story. The progression is kind of whack. I really don't care about the cover story at this point. I really only care about, what's happening with Poneglyph and what Jinbei is going to do with it, because he sure as hell can't read the Poneglyph. I'm convinced that he can't. So, what's Oda going to do with that? Because I don't think the Straw Hats are going to go all the way to that farther ass location just for the Poneglyph, for a single Poneglyph. That's kind of whack to me. So we'll see what happens. Moving on to the chapter itself. The chapter is pretty self-explanatory, so this might actually be a bit of a short video. The only way it could get longer is if I talk about the future rather than the present. But we'll start with the present first. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. And I'm going to go over the noteworthy things. So first thing is Sabo, and the reason why I'm putting him first is so that I don't forget, because I only talk about the stuff outside the fight and the palace before I forget them. So Sabo, I think he's even the only thing really noteworthy, and what's noteworthy is he hasn't reached the underground yet, so whatever action is going to go down there has not started yet. Luffy also has an hour to defeat Doflamingo, but that's like whatever. I mean, we're getting panels anyway, so time limit doesn't matter that much. But I mean, it does bring a sense of danger to the fight and makes it a bit more intense. So there's that, which I commend Oda for. And this is actually intentional. I thought that the bird cage was shrinking involuntarily. I thought it was a condition of the Flamingo's crew that diffuses too much of the strings. The bird cage will shrink, but this was actually part of his plan the whole time. He's just gonna slowly kill everyone in the country. And he also calls it a game, which is interesting because if you think about it, with his fruit and the birdcage, he should be able to, just kill everyone at once. But he doesn't choose to do so. He wants to do it slowly. So I think Doflamingo is hoping that he can take out Luffy and Law before the hour is over, and then he can proceed to handle things in a more suitable fashion without having to necessarily destroy the whole country and stuff, because that's going to be harder work to cover up, to repair. He still has to do all the factory stuff. He has to explain stuff to the world government. Why is an admiral missing? Well, I mean, I don't think he's touching Fujitora, but that's just okay. Why a vice admiral's missing? We could say that. We could jump to that conclusion. Anyways, to the fight. Treble has been taken out with one shot by Luffy. Not a big surprise, but I maintain that Treble is a Logia. Even he got hit in this chapter, but he didn't get hit like as a physical form. Even when he was hit, he was still all liquid. I think all it really means is that Luffy used Haki, but he didn't use any armament hardening. So he just used Haki, armament Haki to hit him, but he didn't necessarily harden up his leg. And we don't get confirmation that he's down and out, but I wouldn't be surprised. And at this point, Luffy doesn't need that extra trouble with what he's about to do. But before we get a bit ahead of ourselves, let's back things up and try to do things kind of in order of appearance. So first off, we find out that Law's alive, thank God. Not a big surprise to many people, but the confirmation is nice. We see Law's plan. We get a flashback explaining his whole plan and how he survived, which was pretty cool. And I don't think it didn't really feel like an ass pull to me, so I think Oda did a good job there. We find out that Law can do an invisible room, which is really hacks, and he stabs Doflamingo with the incredibly hacks Gamma knife. That shit is killing most characters in the series. But Doflamingo is in most characters. He has the goddamn Ito no Mi, and he proves once again why he's about that life and why his fruit is just one of the most OP fruits, in the series. And Doflamingo basically stitched himself up, first aid, as he appropriately said, because that's not a complete. It's not going to completely reverse the damage. It's mainly going to prevent him from dying. That's the main point of stitching himself up and all that kind of stuff. Um, but nonetheless, it's still a really impressive feat. And I think the question moving forward, I'm going to save that for later. Let's focus on the present, and then we'll jump to the future. What else? I think that pretty much covers all the really impressive feats in the chapter. So yeah, I think it is okay to think about stuff moving forward. So moving forward, at this point, Law is exhausted. He's down and out. Treble supposedly taken out by Luffy. So we might get, the one-on-one, the vanilla one-on-one fight that we've been looking for. Not quite vanilla because Doflamingo has sustained some damage from Law, through injection shot, which could potentially have long-term effects, and through the gamma knife, which definitely has effects. Now, the question about the gamma knife is really it's about Oda and how Oda is going to handle it, because it's One Piece and we have One Piece durability. So for all we know, next chapter Doflamingo could completely recover, or Oda might want to play that this damage is going to stay accumulated and it's going to affect Doflamingo in the fight. And I think that is necessary if Oda wants to go down the 1 versus 1 route, and I'll explain why. Because I don't think Luffy is beating Doflamingo one-on-one, and it's really, I'm not taking a shit on Luffy or anything. Both characters, have the capacity to take each other out, but fights aren't all about their destructive capability. Otherwise, Elizabeth would be panicking already. There's much more to it than that, and it's really about the matchup. The matchup is still in Doflamingo's favor because of the Ito is just so hacks. I don't see how Luffy's getting past it. And the Gomu Gomu has, very little to defeat the Ito with, at least in my opinion. And yeah, with that said, the matchup is unfair. Doflamingo has the advantage, Luffy has the disadvantage, and it's just an uphill battle. But with the damage that Doflamingo sustained, that gives a disadvantage to Doflamingo and an advantage to Luffy. So maybe we have like a seesaw, and the seesaw is kind of even now instead of being all in Doflamingo's favor. Maybe the scales have been tipped thanks to this gamma knife damage. And the important thing is, the gamma knife was supposed to kill Doflamingo, but thanks to Doflamingo's first aid and his stitching, he has survived. So he's still taking damage, at least so far, and that's really what I'm looking forward to next chapter, to see how Oda will deal with the internal damage. Is he gonna make it impact Doflamingo, or is he gonna just brush it off? Because if he brushes it off, Luffy's taking that L. But we know that Luffy shouldn't take an L, and we know that Doflamingo should take an L this chapter. Otherwise, the series is over. So I'm curious to see what Oda's gonna do. But I think the best thing Oda could do, especially if he wants to deliver the 1 versus 1 fight to a lot of fans, is to give Doflamingo this accumulated damage, this sustained damage, because he needs a disadvantage in this fight. He needs a handicap, and Luffy needs something to even out the lack of hacks. Luffy doesn't have any Ito. Now Gomu Gomu is not really hacks, I mean excluding your second, which is really strong, but other than that, it's it's not that hacks. But anyways, I think it's time to wrap things up. I've covered most of the important stuff. Luffy versus Doflamingo, 1 versus 1. I think once again the question really is, how much damage has Doflamingo taken, or how much damage is Oda going to carry forward? Because we know how much damage is taken, but how much damage is actually going to go forward to the next chapter? You know what I'm saying? Because Doflamingo once again said it himself that this is just first aid, it's not an exact cure. So is this enough to even out the odds? I mean, it doesn't change the matchup too much, but obviously if his organs are damaged, and he's in pain and all that kind of stuff, he can't fight at 100% efficiency. So this is all, it's all interesting. And the thing is, there's some solution also provides people with Luffy finishing off Doflamingo instead of Law. And it's just I think a lot of things are just looking really positive, looking really good. I was expecting a bit of BS this chapter. Oda did not bring that. He brought the heat, and he just delivered. I really liked this chapter. But anyways, I'm gonna wrap things up. I think I've said enough. Oh, quick question before I wrap things up. I have a bunch of theories stacked up, but I didn't want to do any videos before this one came out so that I have a bit more freedom and a bit more time to add, visual effects and all that kind of stuff. So, which character you guys more interested in right now? Dragon or Kaido? Leave a comment down below. And based on whoever gets the most votes, I'll sort of prioritize that person as the subject for episode 125. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And as always, thank you guys